Güey, a lo mejor me iban a...
No, yo me a decir un regalo, pero no, estoy aquí. Y te
Algo costoso.
Ya bien rehabilitada, hermosa, ya cambié. Ya no salgo, ya no tomo, ya me dejé de bandidos. Pura niña bien.
This is 23-year-old Valeria Marquez, a TikTok influencer who is excitedly unwrapping what she thinks is a birthday gift during her TikTok live stream. However, within seconds, a man would walk into her beauty salon, ask for her name, and shoot her dead on camera while hundreds of viewers watched in real time. This event happened on May 13, 2025, when Valeria Marquez was doing what she loved most, connecting with her followers through a casual TikTok live stream from her salon, Blossom the Beauty Lounge in Zapopan, Mexico. The 23-year-old influencer, who had built a following of over 223,000 on Instagram and 100,000 on TikTok, was chatting about beauty tips, upcoming cosmetic surgery plans, and her day-to-day life as she would do regularly. But something was bothering her that afternoon, and she couldn't quite shake the feeling that something wasn't right. Earlier that day, around midday, two men had visited her salon asking about delivering an expensive gift, but Valeria wasn't there. Her employee called to inform her about the mysterious delivery, and throughout her live stream, Valeria kept circling back to this strange occurrence, her intuition clearly troubled by the details. The way Valeria described the interaction should have been a massive red flag. The delivery person insisted on waiting for her specifically, refusing to simply leave the package with her staff. They wanted her to receive it personally, and they wanted to photograph her with the gift. This wasn't normal delivery protocol, and somewhere deep down, Valeria seemed to sense the danger lurking beneath this unusual request. As her live stream continued, Valeria voiced her concerns about the masked delivery person, making comments that would prove heartbreakingly prophetic. She told her viewers about how the delivery person's face wasn't visible, how the whole situation felt off. The fear in her voice was palpable. Valeria even joked darkly about the possibility of being kidnapped or killed, trying to laugh off her anxiety while her survival instincts were screaming at her that something was terribly wrong. But Valeria didn't leave. She stayed at her salon, continuing her live stream, chatting with her followers about her plans for cosmetic surgery, her rules about not going out and drinking, her dreams and aspirations. Valerie even talked about renting an Airbnb for a month to recover from her upcoming procedure, about disappearing from social media to focus on her health. What Valerie didn't know was she was planning a future she would never see. Around 6 o'clock in the evening, the delivery finally arrived. Valeria, wearing a pink bodysuit that matched her last Instagram post, received the small parcel from the masked individual. She returned to the camera with genuine excitement, her earlier fears momentarily forgotten in the joy of receiving an unexpected gift. The gift was a stuffed pink piglet, and Valeria's delight was infectious as she held it up for her viewers to see. She assumed it was from her friend Vivian, someone she had been playfully joking about throughout the live stream. The plush toy seemed innocent enough, a cute birthday present, even though it wasn't actually her birthday. Valeria clutched the piglet, smiling and laughing, completely unaware that this seemingly harmless delivery was actually a carefully orchestrated setup for her murder. Moments after unwrapping the gift, a man's voice could be heard off camera asking a simple question that would seal Valeria's fate. "Are you Valeria?" "Yes," she responded, still holding the stuffed piglet in her arms. Within seconds, the assailant drew a firearm and shot her at least twice, striking her in the chest and head. The live stream captured everything: Valeria's body slumping forward in her chair, blood pooling on the desk, the stuffed piglet still in her arms as life drained from her body. Hundreds of viewers watched in real time as the 23-year-old influencer was executed in cold blood, her death broadcast to the world in the most horrific way imaginable. The feed continued for a few terrible seconds before an employee, their face briefly visible on camera, picked up the phone and ended the transmission. But by then, the damage was done. Two men were seen fleeing the scene on motorcycles, disappearing into the streets of Zapopan as police sirens began to wail in the distance. They had accomplished their mission with brutal efficiency, using a delivery as cover to gain access to their target and confirm her identity before pulling the trigger. Police arrived around 6:30 in the evening, approximately 30 minutes after the shooting. They confirmed what everyone already knew. Valeria Marquez was dead, killed by multiple gunshot wounds while broadcasting live to her followers. She was found exactly as she had fallen, seated in her chair with the pink stuffed piglet still clutched in her arms. The Jalisco prosecutor's office immediately classified the case as a femicide, a gender-motivated killing that represented the 8th such case in Jalisco that month alone. But who would want Valeria Marquez dead, and why would they choose to kill her in such a public, theatrical manner? To understand the answers to these questions, we need to look at who Valeria was, the life she had built, and the dangerous connections that may have ultimately led to her execution.
A 23-year-old influencer was during a TikTok live stream. A Mexican state prosecutor's office said Valeria Marquez was sitting at a table holding a stuffed animal in her beauty salon in Guadalajara when a man apparently entered and fired a gun at her. Police arrived around 6:30 in the evening local time and confirmed her. And although the motive for the attack has not yet been confirmed, the case is being investigated as a femicide. That's when women and girls are because of their gender, the state prosecutor said. And it's extremely common in Mexico, where the UN reports that 10 women or girls are every day by their partners or family members. A suspect has not yet been named. Fans and supporters of Miss Marquez, who had nearly 200,000 followers across TikTok and Instagram, have reacted with horror to her.
Born Atsiri Valeria Marquez Lopez on February 14, 2002, in Guadalajara, Jalisco, Valeria grew up in a region known for its vibrant culture and rich history, but also for its violence and organized crime. Guadalajara, while famous for mariachi music and tequila, sits at the heart of territory controlled by the Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación, one of Mexico's most powerful and brutal criminal organizations. From a young age, Valeria showed an interest in beauty and fashion. She initially pursued dentistry studies, a practical career path that promised stability and respect. But as she grew older, Valeria's passion for aesthetics and self-expression pulled her in a different direction. She made the bold decision to transition from dentistry to cosmetology, choosing to follow her heart rather than societal expectations. At 16 years old in 2018, Valeria entered the modeling world, signing with the Mexican clothing brand Vicio Vanidad for her first professional campaigns. Her natural beauty and photogenic presence caught attention quickly, and she began building a portfolio that would open doors to bigger opportunities. Young, ambitious, and determined to make her mark in the competitive world of Mexican modeling and social media influence, Valeria threw herself into the competitive world of Mexican modeling and social media influence. Her breakthrough came in 2021 when she won the Miss Rostro beauty pageant title, a prestigious achievement that elevated her status significantly. The victory led to endorsement deals with local brands, including Golden Deluxe jewelry and beauty body-level shapewear. Valeria had a unique ability to blend contemporary fashion trends with traditional Mexican aesthetic elements, creating a style that resonated deeply with young audiences across Western Mexico. She understood her market, knew what her followers wanted to see, and delivered content that was both aspirational and relatable. By 2024, Valeria had transformed her expertise into a thriving business, opening Blossom the Beauty Lounge in the affluent Zapopan suburb. The salon represented everything Valeria had worked toward: independence, success, and the freedom to build something of her own. She employed staff, served a loyal clientele, and used the salon as the backdrop for much of her social media content, giving followers behind-the-scenes glimpses of her entrepreneurial journey. Her social media presence had exploded by this point, with over 223,000 Instagram followers and 100,000 on TikTok. Valeria had built a substantial platform. Her content focused on makeup tutorials, fashion insights, travel experiences, and lifestyle advice. She shared her world with her followers: the glamorous photo shoots, the luxury experiences, the beautiful locations. Her feed featured images of private jets and yachts, creating an image of success and affluence that inspired thousands of young women who dreamed of similar achievements. But this public display of wealth and luxury came with risks that Valeria may not have fully appreciated. In a region plagued by cartel violence and economic inequality, flaunting an extravagant lifestyle could attract dangerous attention. Zapopan, despite being an affluent area with upscale developments, ranks high in violence statistics, with frequent shootings occurring even in supposedly secure venues. Reports suggest that over half of the real estate in Zapopan is linked to drug money laundering, according to U.S. Department of Justice assessments, meaning that the neighborhood's glossy surface concealed deep connections to organized crime. The question that haunted investigators from the beginning was whether Valeria's murder was purely personal or if it had connections to the criminal underworld that operates throughout Jalisco.
A content creator's life has ended in tragedy. Beauty influencer Valeria Marquez died May 13th after a man entered her beauty salon in Jalisco, Mexico and fatally shot her, according to a report from the local attorney general's office via translation. She was just 23 years old. The attorney general's office said the attack occurred while Valeria was conducting a live stream on TikTok inside of her Blossom Beauty Lounge. Video of the deadly incident subsequently circulated on various platforms in which she seemed to clutch her abdomen before her body went limp. According to the preliminary report, the shooting took place at approximately 6:30 p.m. local time. At the time the report was published, officials were on scene gathering evidence and speaking with witnesses in order to determine the details of the attack and identify Valeria's. The report also noted the incident was being treated as a femicide, which is the killing of a woman or girl for reasons based on their gender. In the days before her death, Valeria, whose online audience includes over 173,000 Instagram followers and 128,000 TikTok followers, posted a series of modeling photos and selfies. Many of her fans left comments on her posts to pay their final respects, with one user writing, quote, "She was very beautiful. I hope justice is served. She didn't deserve that ending."
Initial reports suggested that a former boyfriend, possibly a drug dealer, might be involved, though early statements from authorities denied direct ties to organized crime. But as the investigation progressed, a very different picture began to emerge. The Jalisco prosecutor's office launched an immediate investigation, implementing protocols required for femicide cases that mandate a gender-sensitive approach to probing killings motivated by the victim's womanhood.
Hoy andaba haciendo unas cosillas y me marca Erika y me dice, oye bebé, es que te traen algo y que no sé qué, pero pues que te lo quieren entregar a ti. Y yo, pues más o menos llego como en 1 hora. Y ya dijeron de que, no, es que mejor me espero a que llegue ella porque es muy costoso. A mí que me va a andar regalando algo. Y ahorita ya en unos minutitos ya me voy. ¿Ya te lo dieron? Pues no han llegado. Y la verdad no los voy a esperar. ¿Y qué era? No lo vio. Me dice que venía en una bolsa negra, Erika. En una bolsa negra. Pero es que ¿quién? O sea, ¿quién me, o sea... Si trajera como acá, pues te diría, bueno, pues fulanito, pero no.
No sé, güey, me tiene intrigada ese pedo. ¿No estabas tú? No, yo andaba con el doc. Si dicen que era algo costoso, con más razón no le van a dejar. Quizá te estaba cotorreando. ¿Tú crees? ¿O lo viste muy serio?
¿Serio?
Ya viene.
No, sí. Hola.
¿Valeria?
Sí.
Investigators began reviewing CCTV footage from the salon and surrounding areas, analyzing Valeria's social media accounts for clues, and interviewing friends, family members, and salon staff. Over 20 individuals from Valeria's inner circle were called into questioning, though some witnesses would later prove uncooperative, complicating efforts to piece together the full story.
A man's voice is heard saying, "Are you Valeria?" And she replies, "Yes." And then the boot is done. According to the security camera recordings, it's important to remember that this happened inside a mall, a shopping center. There are security cameras, of course, and outside there was another person on a motorcycle waiting specifically for the attacker, and they fled. Currently, with intelligence work, with efforts to gather all available testimonies, the state prosecutor's office is precisely conducting a follow-up. By default, that is automatically when a woman is a violent, it is automatically investigated as femicide, right? So the investigation is being carried out under that protocol, and I should also emphasize that it is being done with a human rights perspective. That is why we are very careful, and it was so important for us yesterday to clarify that no, we, as the prosecutor's office, have not mentioned any name of a possible suspect precisely, and even less so that they had those supposed connections, because that would mean re-victimizing the victim.
As investigators dug deeper into Valeria's personal life, they began examining her past relationships, particularly focusing on her romantic history. Media reports quickly identified Ricardo Ruiz Velasco as a person of interest, describing him as Valeria's former romantic partner and alleging that he had sent threatening messages to her before her death. But Ricardo Ruiz Velasco wasn't just any ex-boyfriend. He was a senior lieutenant in the Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación, one of the most powerful and violent criminal organizations operating in Mexico. Known by aliases including El Doble R, El Tripa, and RR, Ruiz Velasco held significant power within the CJNG hierarchy. He was close to the cartel's supreme leader, Ruben Oseguera Cervantes, better known as El Mencho, and handled public communications and propaganda for the organization. He also led the Grupo Elite, a special forces unit responsible for carrying out the cartel's most sensitive operations. This wasn't Ruiz Velasco's first time being connected to the murder of a young woman in the public eye. His criminal history included the 2012 murder of Venezuelan model Daisy Ferrer Arenas, whose body was found in a Guadalajara sewage canal, and the 2017 assassination of influencer Juan Luis Lagunas, known as El Pirata de Culiacán, who was killed in retaliation for insulting El Mencho during a live stream. The pattern was clear. Ruiz Velasco had a history of targeting people in the public eye who crossed him or his organization. If Valeria had been romantically involved with someone this dangerous, it would explain many things about her murder. The theatrical nature of the killing, broadcast live to hundreds of viewers, the professional execution by what appeared to be trained hitmen, the message being sent through the act itself. But it also raised troubling questions about how a 23-year-old beauty influencer had become entangled with a high-ranking cartel operative in the first place. In June 2025, 1 month after Valeria's murder, the United States Treasury Department announced sanctions on 5 leaders of the Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación, explicitly citing Valeria's killing as an example of the cartel's use of femicide as an intimidation tactic. The announcement was extraordinary. Rarely does the U.S. government specifically name a victim of cartel violence in its sanctions declarations, but Valeria's case had drawn such international attention that it became impossible to ignore. Ricardo Ruiz Velasco was formally identified as the prime suspect in Valeria's murder, with American authorities stating that the killing exemplified how CJNG uses gender-based violence to send messages and maintain control. The Treasury Department's designation came under executive orders related to narcotics trafficking and terrorism, marking CJNG members with sanctions that would freeze any assets they held in U.S. jurisdictions and prohibit American citizens from doing business with them. But despite this high-profile international intervention, Mexican authorities maintained a frustratingly different stance. The Jalisco prosecutor's office stated that they had no direct local evidence tying Ruiz Velasco to the murder, emphasizing that they needed the United States to share whatever intelligence had led to their conclusions. The killing fit a broader pattern of how CJNG operates. The cartel is known for using extreme violence, not just against rivals, but against anyone perceived as showing disrespect or defiance. Women are particularly vulnerable to this kind of retaliatory violence, with femicide serving as both punishment and warning to others. The public nature of Valeria's execution sent a clear message. If you cross CJNG, ignore their members, or even dare to live your life on your own terms after being involved with someone in the organization, there will be consequences. Days after the murder, a mysterious bouquet of roses arrived at Blossom the Beauty Lounge, wrapped in black paper and bearing a single chilling word, pardon, which translates to sorry in English. The delivery became a key piece of evidence, with investigators analyzing fingerprints found on the vase and wrapping. Neighbors reported seeing a suspicious individual near the flower shop, which notably lacked CCTV coverage. The delivery person who brought the flowers was questioned and released, claiming complete ignorance about who had ordered the arrangement or why. Was this an expression of genuine remorse from someone connected to the killing? Or was it another psychological manipulation, a way of maintaining control and inserting the killers back into the narrative even after Valeria's death? But here's where the story takes an even more disturbing turn. The stuffed pink piglet that had been delivered moments before Valeria's murder, the gift she had unwrapped with such innocent joy on camera, was returned by authorities the same day without being properly secured as evidence. This shocking irregularity in the investigation raised immediate questions about the competence and possible corruption within the Jalisco prosecutor's office. How could such a crucial piece of evidence, an item directly connected to the setup of the murder, be handled so carelessly? It should have been photographed, documented, tested for fingerprints and DNA, and analyzed for any traces that might lead back to the killers. Instead, it was apparently returned without establishing a proper chain of custody or even registering it as evidence in the case file. Public outcry erupted on social media, with critics demanding accountability and questioning whether the mishandling of evidence was deliberate sabotage designed to protect powerful interests.
In Guadalajara, heartbreak filled the air as relatives and friends came together to say a final goodbye to 23-year-old beauty influencer and entrepreneur Valeria Marquez. The young woman, who had built a rising online following, was tragically shot and earlier this week while live streaming on TikTok, an attack that has sent shockwaves through Mexico and beyond. The funeral took place at St. Bernard Parish, where mourners gathered in solemn silence as her coffin was brought to the altar. A portrait of Valeria stood near the front of the church, surrounded by white flowers and tearful tributes. The mass was marked by deep emotion, from the priest's blessing of her casket to the soft applause of attendees, offering one last honor to her life. Outside, a heavy police presence underscored the weight of the tragedy. Authorities continue to investigate the incident as a possible femicide, a term used in Mexico for the gender-based of women, a crisis that has reached alarming levels in the country. President Claudia Sheinbaum confirmed on Thursday that investigators are actively pursuing leads, while civil groups and women's rights advocates renewed urgent calls for protection and justice. Valeria's death is more than a personal loss. It's a national reminder of the dangers women still face daily, even in the spaces meant to uplift and empower them. Her vibrant presence, once full of promise and inspiration, was silenced in a moment. Now, her memory ignites a broader conversation about safety, justice, and change. As the nation mourns Valeria Marquez, her voice lives on through those demanding that this never happen again.
As months passed without any arrests, frustration grew among Valeria's supporters and advocates for justice. Petitions appeared on platforms like change.org demanding that the Jalisco prosecutor's office take immediate action and make arrests in the case. Social media discussions continued throughout the fall and into December 2025, with users sharing videos and urging investigators to follow up on leads, but no breakthroughs were reported. And as of today, no arrests had been made. The case remained officially open, with prosecutors claiming to be pursuing 3 parallel lines of investigation. But the lack of tangible progress spoke volumes about the challenges of seeking justice in a region where cartel influence runs deep. The stagnation in Valeria's case is unfortunately typical of how femicide investigations proceed in Mexico. In 2024 alone, 847 femicide cases were officially recorded in Mexico, though the actual number is likely much higher due to underreporting and misclassification. Jalisco, where Valeria was killed, has an impunity rate exceeding 90%, meaning that the vast majority of crimes go uninvestigated or unpunished. President Claudia Sheinbaum publicly condemned Valeria's murder as a femicide and promised justice, but federal involvement has remained limited, with local authorities maintaining control over the investigation despite their apparent inability or unwillingness to make progress.
There is an investigation being carried out to find those responsible and the motive for this situation, and obviously our solidarity goes out to the family. This unfortunate situation is unfortunate, but the Security Cabinet is working in coordination with the prosecutor's office.
What do you think about how the media has taken it up, Madam President? The video has been played over and over again, and they are sharing it. It is already a painful situation, and there was a call to stop the dissemination of this content.
Well, I believe that the call is always to respect the victims, right? Always. And what corresponds to the authorities is to carry out the investigation and make the corresponding arrests.
Adding insult to injury, Valeria's tomb was vandalized after her burial, an act of desecration that compounded her family's grief and trauma. Meanwhile, victim-blaming narratives emerged on social media, with commenters speculating about Valeria's lifestyle, her alleged connections to the cartel world, and her personal choices. This cruel tendency to scrutinize and judge murdered women rather than focusing solely on their killers reflects deep-seated misogyny in how society processes gender-based violence. The broader context makes Valeria's case even tragicer. Jalisco has recorded 15,000 disappearances since 2018, many of them young women who simply vanished without a trace. The state ranks 6th nationally in homicides, with violence infiltrating even supposedly safe areas like the affluent Zapopan neighborhood where Valeria died. On the very day of her murder, a former congressman was killed nearby, illustrating how pervasive the threat of cartel violence has become. CJNG, the organization allegedly behind Valeria's murder, controls vast territories throughout western Mexico, dominating drug production and trafficking routes. The cartel was designated as a foreign terrorist organization by the United States in February 2025, a recognition of the group's extraordinary brutality and destabilizing influence. CJNG is known for executing recruits at training camps who fail to meet standards, assassinating government officials who resist their control, and using femicide as a deliberate strategy to intimidate rivals and punish perceived betrayals. For young influencers like Valeria, the intersection of social media fame and cartel territory creates unique dangers. Their public profiles make them visible targets. Their displays of wealth can attract unwanted attention from criminal organizations looking to extort, recruit, or eliminate them. And their gender makes them particularly vulnerable to violence designed to send messages through their suffering and death. What do you think about this case? Do you think she had it coming with the involvement with a cartel member and flaunting on social media? Let me know what you think in the comments section. Click one of the cards on your screen to see more videos like this.